So, Jos Verstappen. I'd say the majority of you watching now would have some sort of hate towards this man, including myself, and for good reason. We've all heard the stories of his treatment of Max when he was a kid, and it does make him a very unlikable guy. But personal hate aside, Jos Verstappen was an avid racer who drove in F1 for 8 seasons over 3 different periods. The question is, was Max's dad even half the driver he is today? Back in 1993, after winning the German Formula 3 and testing for the Footwork Arrows team, F1 teams were desperate to sign the young 22-year-old as their test driver, as all teams apart from Ferrari and Williams offered him this role. It was especially because of his test with Arrows, as his best lap time of the day was a 1:14.45, which was only 0.07 seconds slower than regular driver Derek Warwick, and this was only his first ever test in any Formula 1 machinery. Benetton were the team to snatch him up for 1994 as their test driver, and the Dutchman was immediately called into action as regular driver JJ Leto broke his vertebrae, so Verstappen got to race in the opening 2 Grand Prix. The thing is, Verstappen wasn't just hopping into any old backmarker. This 1994 Benetton would be the quickest car alongside the Williams, and there was no pressure for Verstappen as he was only going up against this German driver called Michael Schumacher. In his first qualifying on debut, he was nearly 2 seconds off the pace on his teammate, and in the race he didn't get any better as he collided with Eddie Irvine, which triggered a multiple car accident also involving Eric Bernard and Martin Brundle. In the second race in Japan, he struggled once again as Schumacher qualified 2nd while Verstappen qualified 10th. Over 2 seconds behind his teammate, and once again he didn't finish the race as he spun off on cold tyres immediately after his pit stop. Leto was fit enough to return for the Imola Grand Prix, where we lost Ayrton Senna, rest in peace. But Verstappen will be back soon enough, as Benetton weren't happy with Leto's performances. Verstappen performed averagely behind Schumacher in everything, but experienced a life-threatening incident when his Benetton entered the pit lane for its usual pit stop. Back when refueling was allowed, the mechanic spilled some fuel on the car and Verstappen, in which in seconds it burst into flames. The Dutchman escaped the incident with burns around his eyes, as he had his visor up during the pit stop, but it could have easily been worse. For the last 2 races of the season, Verstappen was replaced by the more experienced Johnny Herbert in a bid to win the Constructors' Championship for Benetton, although the team was unsuccessful in this, losing out to their rivals Williams. Herbert was signed for the 1995 season instead of Verstappen due to his poor performances, but I wouldn't blame Verstappen's ability on this one, as both Leto and his replacement Herbert found the B194 difficult to drive. Verstappen would go on to say in 1996, "I must have a little the same driving style as Johnny, because he said basically the same things about that car that I did, and it seems that we have had the same feelings. It was a very difficult car, you could not feel the limit, and so you were pushing and pushing, and then suddenly it would oversteer." In 1995 he was loaned to Simtech, despite some strong showings, including running 6th at the Argentine Grand Prix before a poor pit stop and subsequent gearbox failure. Verstappen only finished once in his 5 races he drove for the team due to technical difficulties. The team were in deep financial trouble and went bankrupt after the Monaco Grand Prix. This would be a common theme over the next 8 seasons of his F1 career, as he would bounce from backmarker team to backmarker team, and the quality of the cars he was given, like the 1996 Arrows and 1998 Stewart, were difficult to finish the race with, never mind scoring points. However, for once it looked like things were going in the right direction for Verstappen when near the end of the 1998 season he became the test driver for the Honda Formula 1 project. They had planned to test the new car in 1999 and join the series in 2000. All was going well with the operation, with the testing hacks showing well against upper midfield teams such as Benetton and Williams in various test sessions, until one of the group project leaders, Harvey Postlethwaite, died of a heart attack. Not long after, Honda changed their plans from becoming a team to a works engine supplier, and Verstappen was once again without a Formula 1 seat. In 2000, the Dutchman returned to Arrows, where they provided him with a nifty car which was unreliable, but on some circuits could challenge the leaders at the front. Partnered up with Pedro de la Rosa, a very similar driver to himself, it would be a good challenge for Verstappen. He had a best season finish of 4th in Monza and would beat his Spanish teammate in the final standings by scoring 5 points to Pedro's 2, but de la Rosa outqualified Verstappen 11 times to 6. And this was a guy who ended up flopping at McLaren and having quite a tame F1 career. Just like I said before, very similar to Verstappen's. De la Rosa would get the boot on the eve of the 2001 season, with his replacement being Red Bull-backed Enrique Bernaldi, and the fact we both haven't heard him gives you the idea of his quality. The 2001 Hours package was more reliable but slower, which resulted in just 1 point being scored between the drivers. Luckily for our boy Verstappen, he took this at the Austrian Grand Prix and beat Enrique by a singular point. How impressive. He then re-signed to drive for Hours in 2002, but was dropped at the 11th hour in favour of Heinz-Harald Frentzen, meaning he was without a drive yet again. For his final year in the sport, he joined Minardi, who of course in F1 are famous for being the backbone of the backmarkers of the grid. Teamed up with British rookie Justin Wilson, who many noted outperformed Verstappen throughout the season. At just 32 years of age, Verstappen was left without a drive in F1, and he would not return after that 2003 stint. In his 8 seasons in F1, he raced in 107 Grand Prix, achieved 2 podiums, and scored a total of 17 points, 117 in the modern system, which actually makes him the second best performing Dutch driver in Formula 1 to date, behind only his son. I mean, not that much of an impressive record, considering Max is the only one of 17 drivers to have won an F1 race. But yes, you came to find out if Jos Verstappen was a bad Formula 1 driver, and I think your answer is an affirmative yes.